Let's kind of move and shift our conversation here with Joe Marr. I want to talk a little bit about the Bill of Rights, and to me, the Bill of Rights is unquestionably just one of the most profound pieces of any kind of law or almost works of art that you have ever seen in our existence, and especially in the Western world. It's the Bill of Rights itself is the fact that the Anti-Federalists looked at this and knew 250 years into the future that preserving the rights of the individuals, it was paramount because of the way that the federal government was going to work, and knowing that the Constitution was not enough to adequately protect those individual freedoms and liberties. Can you just kind of tell me what your point of view on the Bill of Rights is as a whole?
I think first of all, you said it is true architecturally, or even artistically. It had these guarantees been included in the body of the Constitution. It makes you wonder if they'd had the impact, even if they were copied verbatim into there, because by making them concise, amendatory statements, I think their sort of visceral impact is so much more than if that had been in the document itself, notwithstanding the history of them and how they came about. No, I agree with you. Obviously you couldn't. The Bill of Rights would mean nothing without the Constitution itself. But to me, the Bill of Rights is the capstone of the Constitution.
Yes.
And it, when you're reading in the history of it, many of these rights were never questioned or argued about. And, what we find out is that, many of the founders to a lot of the rights that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights, they just assumed they were implied in the Constitution. And thank God, that they decided they were wrong about that. And so not even counting the rights that were bargained and negotiated over. Some of them they all agreed on. They thought, well, we kind of always thought this was why we were doing this whole deal, was to do these things. But they would have forgot about that. They would have died, and somebody else would have took over, and maybe they wouldn't have had the same appropriate concept of the Bill of Rights as the founding fathers did, and so they would have not complied with those type or honored those type of rights. So now, to me, the Bill of Rights, certainly in my practice in criminal law, virtually everything you do is its genesis is the Bill of Rights, and the Bill of Rights' application to the states through the 14th Amendment of the Bill of Rights. And then so many of our state constitutions have similar rights guarantees that also stem from this Bill of Rights. And in many states, as used to be in Texas, not any longer, but it used to be in Texas, that our jurisprudence said that our Texas Bill of Rights, so to speak, in many instances conveyed more protection on the Texas citizen than the federal Bill of Rights did. It's probably been 20 years ago now that was abrogated, and the Court of Criminal Appeals said, no, we'd never intend for our laws to give any more rights than the federal rights guarantees are, which I think is tragic.
Yeah.
Texas, whether an application it worked that well, there were probably workarounds around it that people didn't benefit by it. But for the very first part of my career, there were many of the rights that Texas Constitution guaranteed you that the courts have construed gave more guarantees than their federal counterpart. But alas, no longer is that true.
Yeah, that truly is a shame.